community appalled and offended over a racist billboard demanding that it be taken down at the Glendale Galleria on Central Avenue over a main intersection at the epicenter of the city. There is or was a billboard that advertises plastic surgery. The ad is aimed at Armenians in a city that is predominantly Armenian. What's worse is that the ad and the doctor behind it is an Armenian woman. Now, this is a photo of that advertisement that was up on that billboard as of last night. It says, "Making Armenian noses prettier for 30 years." A billboard with an Armenian tricolor of the flag in the background went up earlier this week, and immediately complaints began pouring in. One observer wrote on social media, "This is lazy, pathetic, wildly inappropriate advertising tactic that sends an unacceptable message to all Armenians, but especially to the underage ones hanging out at the mall, about what it takes to be pretty Armenian, and gives non-Armenians permission to laugh and sneer at us more than they already historically have for our beautiful, pronounced noses." Many who have commented on this story on social media call this internalized racism and say it encourages the dislike of our own inherent features. I have called their office, the office of this plastic surgeon, several times. I have not been able to reach anyone. A source tells me that when someone called to complain about this billboard and how disrespectful and harmful the ad is, a staffer on the other end replied that they don't see it that way. In fact, someone sent me a video of the staffer saying that Armenians do much worse. Glendale City Council member Ellen Asatorian released a statement on social media, and she said, "Thank you to the constituents who alerted me to the offensive ad by the Glendale Galleria Pass. I've personally contacted the Glendale Galleria's general manager, who is taking steps to remove the ad. And since then, the ad has been removed. Additionally," she said, "they are revising their ad placement policy to ensure better oversight. Thank you for your vigilance and engagement in keeping our community and city protected and respectful." That was the statement that Ellen Asatorian released. I have to tell you that since then, the ad has been replaced with something else. There have been a number of people who have called me and told me about what they were told when they called the office. It is clear that there is a group of people in this community and at large that do not see anything wrong with this ad. Now, let me clarify a few things before we move on into the other segment of the show. I believe in bodily autonomy. I believe that everyone should do whatever it is that they want to do to their bodies. This is not about whether we agree or disagree about plastic surgery. And this is certainly not about whether someone has the right to advertise however they want to advertise. This is about the wording of an ad that says, making Armenian noses prettier. Armenian noses are a very specific and distinct feature of a group of people from a very specific region of the world. It is a identifying factor, in fact, historically, about who we are. To say that it's being made prettier implies that currently it is not pretty, and currently it is not acceptable. I have my director showing you the ad. In fact, I'm going to ask her to take it off the screen because I do not want to give this plastic surgeon any more airtime than she's already gotten, because people have been talking about this on social media for days now. What I want to talk about is the fact that there is conversations about the fact that there is nothing wrong with the fact that we don't believe that we are pretty, about the societal element that makes us disenfranchised, historically oppressed community believe that we have to do certain things, look certain ways to be considered prettier, as if someone has defined what that is and who that person is. I still have yet to meet. That element gives whoever decides what pretty means incredible amount of power. I have my own stories and my own experience with this, which I'll get into. But before we do, I want to invite the one person who I know can talk to us about this and give us a lot of historical reference to this, and that is Stepan Vartamian. Stepan, welcome.
Pari Luis. Yeah, it's always Pari Luis. It's about being good and enlightened. Unfortunately, we as Armenians are in the darkest of um, um, knowledge. We know nothing, and especially we know nothing about ourselves. And we feel that if we look like others, then we are acceptable. We've been accepted by them. I saw that ad myself too, and I was even questioning. I said, I am the guy who for 30 years have spoken about how uneducated Armenians are when it comes for the self-identity. And once in my shows, in one of the shows, I said, you could be a doctor, but you could be a stupid doctor. And whatever I have said, it was just proven with this ad. Uh, what does making Armenian nose look pretty? I think making into like a ski slope, will that make it better? I love Armenian noses. I think that's a special character of our women. If they have a big nose, a small nose, whatever nose they have, that's what they have. But greed and money. And I'm going to refer to something here. There is a book called The Erotic Traveler. And I'm going to read from Sir Richard Barton, a well-known writer, who in 1850s traveled the area and talked about the erotism and about sexual behaviors of different ethnicities. And in this sentence, he says, the Armenians, as their national character is, will prostitute themselves for gain. Uh, so now he's not saying Armenians are prostitutes. They're saying that they will prostitute themselves for personal gain. Uh, and if you look around right now, after 150 years of that statement, uh, we're still doing the same thing. We are our own destroyers. We are not content to who we are. We are just trying to please others. Unfortunately, plastic surgery started with one Armenian doctor back in 1915, 1918, Dr. Varastat Kazanjan, who was a dentist serving in the US Army in France. And he himself did over 2,000 surgeries on the fractured faces of American soldiers who came during the war in France. And then when he came back, he established the first reconstructive surgery department at Harvard in 1917 or 1916. Uh, Unfortunately, money makes people do anything except being proud of who they are. And this situation, again, so many plastic surgeons around, and this person is just trying to make an extra money at her institution by just lowering in and giving not giving the younger Armenian woman the negative point that they're not pretty. I think Armenian women are the prettiest of all women, in my opinion. I'm prejudiced when it comes to that. Regardless, regardless.
Thank you, Stepan. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Regardless if they have plastic surgery or not. Actually, I hate women. I mean, the word hate is a very harsh word. I hate Armenian women who have done plastic surgery on their faces and they look like an ape's ass. It's so unfortunate.
You know, you're always going to you're always going to speak your mind, and this is
Oh,
part of the reason I invited you to talk about this today. But I also want to go a little bit deeper. Now, again, the issue here isn't necessarily plastic surgery, at least I don't see. What I normally see in these scenarios is the lack of the community's understanding that by us denigrating ourselves, by us insulting ourselves, by us telling ourselves that we're not pretty enough, the things that identify us uh, as who we are, we essentially are giving others permission to do the same, to judge us, to tell us that we don't fit, that we're not good enough, or that somehow our looks are not up to par, up to code, up to the standards that
yeah,
someone else has said. Has
yeah.
said. So it is
I would love,
a deeper issue of identity in this
yeah,
scenario than just plastic surgery.
yeah.
This is
Well,
internalized racism.
okay, you're talking to someone who for 30 years explained the community. I'm going to use the Armenian words. How abush we are, and the word abush is utilized not derogatory, but unushatir, unattentive. I've been saying that for almost 30 years on my show, and I've been labeled as Armenian hater and such on. But see, I would like to ask that doctor, would she do operation on all those disgraced Armenian women who don't look pretty? Would she do them for free? If she would them for free, and we have an epidemic of Armenian women who don't look beautiful without her surgery, is she volunteering herself to correct every Armenian woman's nose?
Yeah.
I mean, I did. Uh, I'm known to have this shock therapy attitude to my audience. I went in front of the sign and I said something which is right now trending on social media. Uh, was it right for me to do that thing? Yes. Was it a racist remark? No. I'm not going to say it right now because I would like to keep this show rated PG.
Just for our viewers, we had a conversation before, and I said, Stepan, I'd like to keep this conversation PG. But you can say you can check his social media account.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you like. I have an issue with the community not
Well,
understanding.
we're ignorant. We're
There is a
uneducated
problem there.
people.
Let
Armenian.
me.
Okay,
What is?
Armenians, I can say Armenians are uneducated people. You could be a doctor who went to school to learn how to put this knife over this skin, but you don't have logics on how to live your life based on standards and being nice to others. Uh, we think that by having money, we have better knowledge of everything. No, we don't. We are ready to, again, when I use the word prostitute, it doesn't mean to sell our bodies, but we'll do anything to make money. Right now, we're losing Armenia just because we're doing everything to make money. And even with all the political system in Armenia right now and losing Artsakh and everything, there are some Armenians, and they're almost half of, not majority, but could be majority, are saying that it's okay to lose Artsakh because we want to live a better life in Armenia. And then suddenly, we are losing other properties in Armenia proper. Until the bomb is thrown on Yerevan, then Armenians in Yerevan, they're going to understand that they were so idiots and stupid in assuming that nothing happens to them. So it's the same situation. This is a political situation in Armenia. This is another situation in diaspora where I have a prejudice against Armenians. I divide them by two, and it doesn't have to do with Eastern Armenians or Western Armenians. I divide them by the neck, above the neck Armenians and below the neck Armenians. And unfortunately, 1/5 of your body is about your neck, and 4/5 of your body is below your neck. And equally, the Armenian community, the uneducated doctors, lawyers, and are a lot comparing to the people who are very culturally educated and are proud of them being Armenian. I think I could I mean, I could tell I am a proud Armenian, but I pinpoint negativity that the Armenian community is doing. And today in the morning, I was thinking, what is the difference between a billboard that advertises Gucci clothes or a stupid Armenian who's wearing a Gucci from head to toe? The difference is that one is getting paid, the other one is a slave who's promoting another product.
Stepan, you're speaking about issues that are very complex and layered and very difficult for people to understand, but I'm going to help put this into perspective, hopefully for some people who still think that there was nothing wrong with that. Imagine if someone else, not someone with a last name IAN, YAN, or a historical background of being Armenian, another person, a Jewish person, a Black person, an Asian person, a white person, put this billboard up right here in Galleria and used exactly the same layout to advertise for plastic surgery.
Nothing is going to change among the Armenian minds.
Imagine, no, I'm not saying it will, but I'd like people to think about whether they would think that would be offensive, right?
Okay. It won't be offensive for Armenians.
If you don't understand why it's offensive, I'd like to I'd like us to take it apart, right?
Okay, because we have a slave mentality. We have a slave. Armenians are slaves, have been slaves for 700 years, for 1,000 years, for even 1,700 years. When they accepted Christianity, Christianity was the essence of making humans turn into slaves. And then came political situations. I'm just going to give you an example. When there was a demonstration on Wilshire Boulevard, and there were signs posted on the light poles saying that Israel, Azerbaijan, they're going to eliminate Armenians. Armenians did not care. And when few people cared, the Beverly Hills Police Department said it's a freedom of speech. Imagine right now if I say Armenians, they're going to eliminate Israel. You know how many lawsuits? I mean, they can sue me. I don't have anything. They're not going to sue me because I have nothing. But because other nations are proud of who they are. We are not proud of who we are. We are proud of others who talk about us. We are proud of if we see somebody, a stranger who knows nothing about Armenian, says one word in Armenian, but yet our kids don't know how to speak Armenian. See, this comes from our slave mentality. We need to put being proud Armenian besides two things that we are proud of: the first Christian nation that destroyed Armenia, and the first genocide of the 20th century. And unfortunately, so many other genocides are happening right now. We don't care about them. We only care that what happened 107 years ago. That's how ignorant Armenians are. I know majority of Armenians don't love me, the stupid ones. Minority of Armenians who are the smart ones, they love me. So I can say it the way
our identity is tied to so many things. And, I want to read you a couple of things here. This is not an issue that happens in the Armenian community. This is an issue that happens in every community, every minority community, right? So the identity struggle is real, especially in a country where a very particular look, right? White, blonde, blue-eyed has been put on a pedestal since any of us stepped foot in this country, and trying to assimilate to meet those standards to then be part of the in group that is acceptable, that is liked, is an ongoing thing that happens in every immigrant, every disenfranchised and oppressed community. It's a part of wanting to be accepted. I want to read to you a little bit about what internalized racism is, in case you still are confused about why we're talking about this. Internalized racism is when historically oppressed ethnic groups invalidate, demean, and or suppress its own and other marginalized groups' heritage, identity, self-worth, and human rights. Making it prettier means that it's not pretty already. I'll tell you a little bit story about my own experience and my own journey. This is the reason why this really hit a chord with me, and I normally wouldn't go above and beyond to create an opportunity for a public discussion. But when I first entered into the mainstream broadcast television world, the American news market, I heard many executives who happened to be white, older, powerful people within that industry tell me, your features are too harsh. Your skin is too olive and hard to light. Your accent is too difficult to listen to. It is really distracting. And for many, 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 many years, executives, and you've heard me tell this story, you've heard Araxia Harapetian tell this story, and many other Armenians who enter into the mainstream market, asking us to change our last name, asking us to change the way we look. And while at the time it seems like what's required in order to move through the system to get promoted and get more opportunities, it also creates a conflicting emotional distress in you, because someone is asking you to alter your identity in order for you to be given permission to participate in something that should solely be based on merit and skill and experience. For many years, people asked me to change my last name when I was working in television. Many times people asked me to dye my hair lighter. I've been asked to do a whole bunch of other things, including going through, makeup sessions to make my features look softer and more feminine and all of those things. But that's because someone, and I can say a group of very powerful white older men sitting on top of the food chain, decided what was acceptable, what was pretty, what was acceptable, and what opened the doors to advancement in that particular industry. And I am proud to say that I didn't change my last name, and I'm proud to say that I didn't conform much. I did work on my accent because that was something that needed to be done anyway as far as skill is concerned. But to consistently be pressured, it felt like I was not enough with all of my experience, with all of my time, with all of the sacrifices, which were equal, if not more than my counterpart, was not enough to then see advancement and promotion and opportunities. And that is a consistent, systematic issue that happens out there that we as Armenians, many of us are not exposed to, because we live in this bubble that is Glendale, or some other bubble that is in another community that, people don't step out to see those systematic issues. I've experienced it. I know a lot of people who are in the corporate world experience it. And that's not okay. What I have a problem with is that no one talks about those things. Somebody in that office knew that there was something wrong with this ad, that they did not pass the smell test.
I doubt that there was somebody in the office who was intelligent enough to know all those things. See, everybody's here to make a salary. Everybody's here to make more money. So as they say, the devil, the evil of everything is money. So it's based on money. Again, I'm going to come back to the situation. Would she do all these operations for free? Now, things have changed in society. Today, you see African Americans are anchoring news. 42 years ago, when I came to the US, Glendale had a curfew of African Americans entering after 7 o'clock. So things change when the people, the intelligent people, unite, bring pride to what they are, and they don't accept what these few people are saying. Unfortunately, in our community, As I always say, see, there are over 300 stomach cultural venues in Glendale. There are only three brain cultural venues in Glendale. I'm talking about Armenian culture, and uh, it if we can equate Armenian culture with financial gain, then people will start getting educated and accept their identity better. Unfortunately, right now, uh, if you look like this, you can make more money. If you do this, you can make more money. It's all about that. Where is the intellectual Armenian in society right now? They're all broke. They can't make money. So the child growing in Glendale or in Armenia, for them, the equation is that what can I do to make more money? So we need to work from that angle and bring pride to our culture that is equated with dollar sign. I always say praise means nothing without the dollar sign. We always say Armenians are the greatest, this is this, but since there is no value, financial value in it, okay, our next generation does not care. So now
Steph,
you're gonna see.
I know you've been talking about this for 30 years. I know that because I've been right there listening to you along the way. I have not spoken out as publicly and as loudly as you have, but I'm hopeful that perhaps there's lack of understanding, there's lack of exposure and lack of education, and perhaps these types of conversations allow people to see the issue from a different perspective. Now, it might be a lot to ask them to change their behavior, or it's a lot to ask for people to step up and say something. But the reality of the matter is, if you don't say something in the process while this is happening, this is what we end up, we erode from within.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like if we erode from within, and I say we as Armenians, but this is true for any culture. If you erode from within, you've given everyone else in society to do the same to you, to demean you, to humanize
to
you,
step on you,
feel
to
worse than you are,
yeah.
less than you are, and you are not worthy of a full human being because your identity is compromised. And the fact that we've got people in the community justifying this and shrugging it off.
Well, that's their ignorance. That's their ignorance.
I do want to say something though. I did get a text message. I know that there were members of the community that were working to get this billboard removed because along the way, while it cleared this surgeon's office and made it to the Glendale Galleria, office of advertising, it cleared their standards and then made it onto the billboard. Somewhere, somebody along the way didn't realize or didn't pay attention or didn't want to speak up. Perhaps they knew and they didn't speak up. I do want to say that the Glendale Galleria did send an email to several people who wrote them and said, the manager said, "I'm deeply sorry that we have offended you. And I promise that my actions moving forward will prove the sincerity of my words." So they're implementing some review processes for the future, which is encouraging. And I don't necessarily blame them, but I also think that this is an important topic for us to talk about, and we can continue talking about the ignorance.
Yeah, actually, we need to save the Armenian mind. The Armenian mind has been rotten and exposed to radiation of not working. The smartest Armenian, the most educated Armenian, when they have no pride of who they are as Armenians, this is what happens. And my point is, your millions of dollars could go up your whatever it is, but your brain needs to be as poor as it gets, but brightened, lightened. Your brain should be flashing with knowledge. Unfortunately, we don't have that thing. We have lots of money. Armenians have lots of money. Unfortunately, they don't have lots of knowledge. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Stepan. I appreciate you. If a lot of you wanting to know what Stepan wrote that's going viral on social media, you can check out his Instagram page. And thanks for talking to us. I know that historically speaking, you have a lot more knowledge on this issue of identity than I ever will. I can only speak from my own perspective and experience.
And you know what? You know what? Sorry to interrupt you. My knowledge is from my experience. It's not any, no university can give any human being knowledge of Armenian identity the way that I have it, because all those PhD doctors who have written about Armenians, they're just in the same caliber of that doctor who said that she can make Armenian noses better. We are puppets of.
Stepan, I'm convinced you're in the business of collecting enemies.
Oh yeah, I am in the business of being Armenian. And unfortunately, being Armenian is not lucrative, but I am in that business. See, when you talk about the truth, people will get offended. And like, I'm not to have this controversial individual who talks about Armenians in a very demeaning way. I say the truth. And if telling the truth is demeaning, then let it be. I have my PhD too. Partamiani Haigagan Duna. Paris, Luis.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. And for those of you watching, we hope that you learned something new today. We hope that this inspires you to speak up next time and also brings awareness to your existence in whatever scenario and whatever spaces you find yourself. If at any point you feel like you're being made to feel less than, and or something's being said or some actions being taken that is compromising your full identity, that you stand tall and you own the space and you own who you are. And with that, we're going to close the show, and I'm going to ask you a favor. Please share this episode, comment, like, subscribe us on YouTube. And we have a lot more coming up in the next few weeks. We hope to see you next time. I'm Silva Harapetian. See you later.